as my future mother-in-law lifted her glass. Her immaculately manicured fingers encircling the base like claws, the crystal stemware clinked. "To family," she said, glancing past me as though I didn't exist. "And to maintaining our standards. I'm Delilah, and I was going to wed into the affluent Sanders family in Boston." I forced a smile that wouldn't break under pressure as I lifted my own glass, the engagement ring on my finger feeling heavy. I'd climbed the corporate ladder for 6 years, so I knew how to remain calm even when I wanted to yell. I said, "The wine is excellent, Elisa," in my most polished voice, the one that had landed me my senior role at Morgan Stanley by the time I was 29. "It's a 82 Bordeaux, yes. I don't think you've ever enjoyed it." Elisa's eyes did not meet her smile. "Alex, darling, tell everyone about the new yacht club membership." Under the table, Alex, my fiancé, gripped my hand. "Actually, Mom, Delilah, and I were thinking of spending that money on—" "Nonsense," interrupted Elisa. "The relationships you'll form there are priceless. Regarding that, have you had a chance to meet the daughter of Charles and Patricia? She recently got back from Switzerland, where she completed her education." I recollected my mother's comments from this morning as I took another sip of the obviously great wine. "Remember who you are, honey, and kill them with kindness." I said, "The yacht club sounds wonderful," which surprised me and everyone else at the table. Learning to sail would be amazing. In fact, my company closes a lot of business on the water. Alex's father, Fletcher, became alert. "That's not a bad point, you know. During a regatta last summer, the Thompson Agreement was finalized." Elisa remarked, "How resourceful," as though the term were impolite. She looked across at their maid. "Marie, we're ready for the main course." I overheard Elisa whispering to her friend Barbara at the opposite end of the table as Marie served the wonderfully cooked duck breast. Not quite suitable for a wife. Alex won't, these ambitious people. All of a sudden, the duck tasted like sawdust. Alex was deep in conversation with his father about the family business, oblivious of the subtle warfare being waged across the fine china and crystal. "Delilah," Elisa called out, her voice honey-sweet with poison. "Tell us about your family. What does your father do again?" "My father passed when I was 12. I replied evenly. "My mother raised me on her own, working as a high school teacher. She's the reason I got a full scholarship to Harvard." "How inspiring," Elisa said in a tone that suggested it was anything but. It must have been quite an adjustment, coming from such humble beginnings. Before I could respond, Alex jumped in. "Mom, Delilah is one of the youngest senior advisors in her firm's history. She—" Yes, very impressive." Elisa waved her hand dismissively. "But running a household requires different skills entirely. Speaking of which, Barbara, how is your daughter's wedding planning coming along?" I excused myself to the powder room, needing a moment to breathe. The marble countertop was cool under my palms as I leaned forward, studying my reflection in the gilded mirror. My mother's features stared back at me, the same determined set of jaw, the same fire in our eyes. I heard what Elisa said. A voice came from behind me. It was Fletcher, waiting in the hallway as I emerged. "Don't let her get to you," he said. "She was the same way with my sister's husband at first. Now they're thick as thieves." "Thank you, Fletcher, but—" "I don't need thanks," he interrupted gently. "What you need is to understand that Elisa's greatest weakness is her pride. She thinks she's protecting the family legacy. Prove her wrong and you'll earn her respect." I straightened my shoulders, a plan already forming in my mind. The family business. I've heard there have been some concerns about the quarterly reports. Fletcher's eyebrows rose slightly. "You've done your homework." "I always do my homework. It's how I got here from those humble beginnings." He smiled, the first genuine smile I'd seen all evening. "Come to my office tomorrow. There are some numbers I'd like you to look at." Walking back to the dining room, I heard Elisa's voice floating through the open door. "I just don't see it lasting. These marriages across social classes never do." I paused, my hand on the doorframe. In that moment, I made a decision. I wouldn't fight Elisa's fire with fire. Instead, I would do what I did best, observe, analyze, and execute. By the time I was done, she would have no choice but to acknowledge my worth. Everything okay? Alex asked as I slid back into my seat. I smiled, genuine this time. Perfect, actually. Fletcher just invited me to review some business documents tomorrow. I hope you don't mind if I stop by the office. Across the table, Elisa's fork clattered against her plate. The game was on. Fletcher's office smelled of leather and old money, with wood-paneled walls that had witnessed decades of deals and decisions. I settled into one of the visitor chairs, accepting the coffee his assistant had brought in. These are the last 4 quarterly reports, Fletcher said, spreading folders across his mahogany desk. The numbers look fine at first glance, but something feels off. I open the first folder, my financial advisor instincts kicking in. Mind if I take notes? Please do. Alex speaks highly of your analytical skills. Speaking of Alex, he chose that moment to pop his head in. Dad, Mom's looking for... Oh, hey, babe. You're here? Early. Just getting started, I said, already immersed in the columns of figures. Want to join us? He stepped in, closing the door behind him. Actually, I should warn you, Mom's not thrilled about this. She cornered me this morning, saying we shouldn't involve outsiders in family business. I invited her, Fletcher said firmly, and last I checked, I'm still CEO. I held up a hand, frowning at a particular line item. These operational costs seem inflated compared to industry standards. Who oversees this department? That would be Corey, our CFO, Alex replied, leaning over my shoulder. He's been with us forever. Mom practically considers him family. I made another note. And these vendor contracts? They're all through the same intermediary company. Fletcher's brow furrowed. Yes, Corey consolidated our supply chain last year, said it would improve efficiency. Mind if I cross-reference these with market rates? I was already pulling up databases on my laptop. The numbers weren't adding up, but I needed more evidence before voicing my suspicions. A sharp knock interrupted us. Elisa burst in, perfectly coiffed even at 9 a.m. Fletcher, darling, I need you to. Her smile froze when she saw me. I wasn't aware we were having a family meeting. Just reviewing some reports. I said pleasantly, not looking up from my screen. These numbers are fascinating. I'm sure they are, she said coldly. Alex, the country club called. The membership committee is meeting today. Can't make it, Mom. I'm needed here. But actually, I interrupted, turning my laptop around. You might want to see this, Elisa. I pointed to the screen. These vendor markups are significantly above market rate. Has anyone audited these contracts? Corey handles all that, she dismissed. He's been managing our finances for 15 years. 15 years is a long time to go without fresh eyes, I murmured, pulling up another spreadsheet. Look at this pattern in the operational expenses. Despite herself, Elisa moved closer, peering at the screen. What pattern? These spikes in costs always occur right after major contract renewals, but there's no corresponding increase in output or revenue. Fletcher leaned forward. Are you suggesting? I'm not suggesting anything yet, I said carefully, but I'd like to dig deeper if you'll let me. Absolutely not, Elisa snapped. Corey is family. I won't have some outsider coming in and... Mom, Alex cut in, his voice sharp. Look at the numbers. A tense silence filled the room. I could practically see the gears turning in Elisa's head as she struggled between her instinct to dismiss me and her business acumen. Fine, she finally said, but I want to be kept informed of everything you find. Of course, I agreed smoothly. I'll need access to the complete financial records for the past 5 years and any correspondence related to these vendor contracts. I'll have it set up, Fletcher said, reaching for his phone. Wait, Alex said suddenly. Maybe we should keep this quiet for now. If there really is something wrong. I nodded. Agreed. The fewer people who know I'm looking into this, the better. I still think this is unnecessary, Elisa protested, but I could hear the uncertainty creeping into her voice. Better unnecessary than sorry, I replied, meeting her eyes. Unless you prefer I walk away and leave these discrepancies unexplored. She held my gaze for a long moment before turning to Fletcher. Keep me updated. With that, she swept out of the office, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. Well, Fletcher said, breaking the silence. That went better than expected. Alex squeezed my shoulder. You okay? I'm fine, I said, already back to scanning the reports. But something's definitely wrong here. These numbers don't lie. What's your next step? Fletcher asked. I closed my laptop, my mind racing with possibilities. I need to talk to your accounting team, separately and without Corey knowing. I'll arrange it, Fletcher said. But be careful. If what you're suggesting is true. I know. I gathered my things, trying to ignore the knot forming in my stomach. Trust me, I know exactly what I'm doing. As I left the office, I caught a glimpse of Corey through his open door, laughing on the phone. He waved cheerfully as I passed. I waved back, my smile not reaching my eyes. The game had just gotten a lot more interesting and a lot more dangerous. Holy, Serena whispered, staring at the spreadsheet spread across my dining room table. This is like Enron level sketchy. I poured us both another glass of wine. I know. Look at this transaction from last March. I pointed to a highlighted row. $1 million equipment purchase that doesn't show up anywhere in the inventory. And these shell companies... Serena adjusted her glasses, squinting at my laptop screen. All registered in the Cayman Islands. All established within the last 5 years. Having my best friend as a forensic accountant was proving invaluable. We'd been poring over Sanders' company records for hours, and the picture forming wasn't pretty. My phone buzzed. It was Alex. Alex, Mom's asking questions about why you're accessing old records. Everything okay? Your future mother-in-law is getting antsy, I told Serena, typing a quick response. Me, just being thorough. Have something to show you tomorrow. Serena leaned back, running her hands through her curly hair. Delilah, this is bigger than just cooking the books. These transactions, someone's been systematically siphoning money through fake vendors. And guess who oversees all vendor relationships? We said it in unison. Corey. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was Fletcher. Fletcher. Corey asked about your investigation. Said Elisa mentioned it. Be careful. Damn it. I muttered. So much for keeping this quiet. Serena gathered her papers into a neat stack. Once people like this know they're being investigated, they start covering their tracks. I finished her thought. Or worse. A knock at my door made us both jump. I checked the peephole and exhaled. It's just Alex. He looked stressed as he entered, loosening his tie. Mom's on the warpath. She cornered me after dinner with Corey, demanding to know what you found. Perfect timing, I said, pulling him toward the dining room. Serena, show him. For the next 20 minutes, we walked Alex through our discoveries. With each revelation, his face grew darker. That son of a... He slumped into a chair, running a hand through his hair. Mom treats him like family, and all this time. We need proof, Serena said. Bulletproof proof. No offense, but your mother seems like the type who won't believe anything unless it's undeniable. None taken, Alex sighed. You should have heard her at dinner. Corey would never, and that girl is just trying to cause trouble. I pulled up another file. What about this? A wire transfer to a private account in Grand Cayman, authorized by Corey, dated 3 weeks ago. Serena leaned in. Can you trace where it went? Working on it. But look at the amount, $250,000. Same as the consulting fee listed in last month's expenses. Alex's phone chimed. His face went pale as he read the message. Corey just called an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning. Says he has concerns about unauthorized access to sensitive documents. He's making his move, Serena said, trying to discredit you before you can expose him. I was already gathering the most damning evidence into a separate folder. Then we move now. Alex straightened. What's the plan? Call your father. Get him to your house. Serena, Can you put together a quick presentation of what we found? On it, she said, fingers flying over her keyboard. Give me 30 minutes. An hour later, we pulled up to the Sanders mansion. Fletcher's car was already there, along with Elisa's Mercedes. My stomach tightened when I saw Corey's BMW in the driveway. Ready? Alex squeezed my hand. I grabbed my laptop and the folder of evidence. As I'll ever be. We found them in the living room. Elisa was pacing. Fletcher looked grim. And Corey was smiling like a cat who'd caught a canary. Ah, Delilah, he said smoothly. I was just explaining to Elisa my concerns about your unauthorized investigation. Funny, I replied, setting up my laptop. I was about to share my concerns about your unauthorized wire transfers. His smile flickered. Elisa stopped pacing. What wire transfers? Mom, sit down, Alex said firmly. You need to see this. For the next 20 minutes, we laid everything out, the fake vendors, the inflated costs, the offshore accounts. With each revelation, Corey's smile grew more strained, while Elisa's face shifted from skeptical to shocked to furious. This is absurd, Corey finally sputtered. These accusations are backed up by evidence. I cut in, pulling out my final document, including this email from your private account to your contact at the bank in Grand Cayman, discussing how to structure the transfers to avoid detection. The room went deadly silent. Then Fletcher spoke, his voice like ice. Corey, I think you should leave now. The police will be in touch. As security escorted him out, I caught Elisa staring at me, her expression unreadable. The real test was just beginning. The Sanders family lawyer, Jasper, arrived at dawn. We'd been up all night, combing through files and securing digital evidence. Elisa hadn't spoken to me since Corey's exit, but I could feel her eyes following my every move. The police have been notified, Jasper announced, setting his briefcase on the dining room table. But Corey's already gone. His house is empty. Empty? Fletcher's coffee cup clattered against its saucer. What do you mean, empty? I mean cleaned out. He must have been preparing for this possibility. I trusted him, Elisa whispered, her first words in hours. I let him into our home, our business, our lives. Alex touched her shoulder. Mom, we all did. Not all of us, she snapped, turning to me. You saw it right away, didn't you? Was this your plan all along? To prove how foolish I've been. Elisa, I said carefully, I saw it because it's my job to see these things. That's all. The question now, Jasper interrupted, is how we proceed, the company's reputation. A sharp knock at the door cut him off. 2 police detectives entered, led by the housekeeper, Mrs. Sanders. The female detective showed her badge. I'm Detective Roberts. We need to ask you some questions about Corey Holmes. What followed was 3 hours of detailed questioning. I watched Elisa's composure crack as she realized the full extent of Corey's betrayal. Each transaction we uncovered, each lie we exposed, seemed to age her years. And you discovered all this? Detective Roberts asked me. Initial discrepancies. I corrected. My friend Serena helped confirm the pattern. She's a forensic accountant. We'll need to speak with her, the male detective said, making notes, and get copies of everything you found. Jasper stepped in. I'll handle that. We want full cooperation with the investigation. What about the press? Fletcher asked. This will get out. Get ahead of it, I suggested. Everyone turned to look at me. Release a statement. The family discovered financial irregularities, investigated, and immediately reported them. Show strength and transparency. She's right, Jasper said. I can have a statement ready within the hour. No. Elisa stood up. I'll make the statement. I trusted him. I vouched for him. This is my responsibility. Alex started to protest, but I caught his arm. Let her. The detectives left with copies of our evidence. Jasper retreated to the study to draft documents. Fletcher went to call an emergency board meeting. I need air, Elisa announced suddenly, heading for the garden. After a moment's hesitation, I followed. I found her by the rose bushes she'd proudly shown off at my first visit to the house. She didn't turn around as I approached. "You must be enjoying this," she said quietly. "Why would I enjoy watching my future mother-in-law in pain?" She laughed bitterly. "Because I've been horrible to you. Because I dismissed you, judged you, tried to push you away." "True," I admitted, "but that's not why I did this." "Then why?" She finally turned to face me. "Because it was the right thing to do. Because this company will be part of my family too. Because, despite what you think of me, I care about protecting what matters to Alex and to me." Her voice cracked. "What do you think matters to me?" "Legacy," I said simply. "Pride. Family. The same things that matter to me." A long silence stretched between us, broken only by the distant sound of traffic. "I have to make a statement to the press," she finally said. "Tell everyone how blind I've been." "No," I corrected. "You have to tell them how strong you are, how you won't let anyone betray this family's trust, how you're going to make this right." She studied me for a long moment, helped me write it. Before I could answer, Alex burst into the garden. "Corey just called the office. He's threatening to go to the media with dirt on the family unless we drop the charges." "What dirt?" Elisa demanded. He wouldn't say, just that he's been keeping records of everything for years. I saw the fear flash across Elisa's face, quickly replaced by anger. That snake. After everything we did for him. "What do you want to do?" I asked her directly. She straightened her shoulders, and for the first time, I saw the steel that helped her build this empire. "We fight. We tell the truth before he can spin his lies. Will you help me?" "Of course," I said. Alex looked between us, surprised by this sudden alliance. "Good," Elisa said, already walking back to the house. "Because if he wants a war, we'll give him one." She paused at the door. "And Delilah," she added, "thank you for protecting our family." Our family. The words hung in the air as we followed her inside, ready to face whatever storm was coming. The newsroom lights were blinding, but Elisa didn't flinch. We'd spent hours preparing for this moment, rehearsing her statement until every word was perfect. "The Sanders Group has always stood for integrity," she began, her voice steady. "When we discovered financial irregularities, we took immediate action." I watched in the wings with Alex and Fletcher as she delivered the statement we had crafted. No denials, no excuses, just strength and accountability. My phone buzzed. A text from Serena. "Turn on Channel 7 now." I pulled out my tablet and opened the live stream. There was Corey on a rival network, speaking to a reporter. "Alex," I whispered urgently. "Show him the screen." His face darkened as Corey's words became clear. "Systematic corruption within the Sanders family," Corey was saying. "Elisa Sanders personally approved numerous questionable transactions." Fletcher saw it too. "That lying bastard." "Wait," I said, noticing something. "Look at the documents he's holding up. Those signatures." Elisa was wrapping up her statement when we hurried her off stage. In the green room, I pulled up the competing broadcast. "He's forged your signatures," I explained, zooming in on the documents. "But he made a mistake. Look at the dates." Elisa leaned closer. "July 15th, 2022? But I was in France," Alex finished. "Mom, you were at my cousin's wedding. We have photos, videos, dozens of witnesses." "Get me Jasper," Elisa snapped, already pulling out her phone. "And call the FBI. This isn't just theft anymore. It's forgery and fraud." The next few hours were a blur of lawyers, federal agents, and reporters. By evening, we were back at the Sanders mansion, watching the news coverage unfold. Sources say former CFO Corey Holmes may have falsified documents. The anchor was saying when the doorbell rang. Marie showed in Detective Roberts, looking grimmer than before. "Mrs. Sanders, we found something you need to see." She laid out a series of photographs on the coffee table. They showed Corey meeting with known criminals, dating back years. "This goes beyond corporate fraud," she explained. "We believe Mr. Holmes has connections to organized crime. The FBI is taking over the investigation." Elisa sank into her chair. "All these years, right under my nose." "Mom, don't." Alex started, but she held up her hand. "No, I need to face this." My pride, my certainty that I could never be fooled. That's what allowed this to happen. Mrs. Sanders, Detective Roberts said gently, you're not the first person to be deceived by someone they trusted. But right now, we need to know if you've received any threats. As if on cue, Elisa's phone chimed. Her face went pale as she read the message. What is it? Fletcher demanded. Corey, she whispered. He says if we don't withdraw our accusations by midnight, he'll release everything. Says we don't know what he's really capable of. That's it, Detective Roberts said, already on her radio. We're putting a protective tail on your family. No, Elisa protested. I won't be intimidated in my own home. Actually, I said slowly, an idea forming, maybe we should let him think he's won. Everyone turned to look at me. What do you mean? Alex asked. He's desperate, making mistakes. If he thinks we're backing down, he might get careless. I said. Detective Roberts nodded. It could work. Absolutely not, Fletcher argued. It's too dangerous. More dangerous than waiting for him to make good on his threats? I countered. We need to end this now. Elisa stood up suddenly. She's right, and I know exactly how to do it. She turned to Detective Roberts. Can you get a message to him through back channels? Make him think I'm willing to negotiate. Mom, no, Alex protested. Yes, she said firmly. I'll let him into this family. I'll be the one to take him down. The detective made some calls while we worked out the details. By midnight, the trap was set. The message has been delivered. Detective Roberts confirmed. He thinks you're willing to meet tomorrow to discuss terms. And the FBI team is ready? I asked. She nodded. They'll be in position before dawn. As the detective left to brief her team, Elisa caught my arm. Why are you doing this? After how I treated you? Because that's what family does, I said simply. We protect each other. She studied me for a long moment. I was wrong about you, about a lot of things. Save the apology for after we catch him, I said, managing a smile. Right now, we need to prepare for tomorrow. Tomorrow, she agreed, her voice hardening. When Corey learns what happens when you threaten the Sanders family. Looking at her then, I finally understood where Alex got his strength. And for the first time, I felt truly proud to be joining this family. The old boathouse creaked in the pre-dawn breeze. I adjusted my earpiece, trying to look casual as I pretended to check my phone. The FBI team had wired both Elisa and me, with agents positioned around the marina, target approaching from the south in trance. A voice crackled in my ear. Remember, I whispered to Elisa, keep him talking. We need a confession. She nodded, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. We'd chosen this location carefully. Public enough to be safe, private enough for Corey to feel comfortable talking. The door opened, and there he was. Corey looked different now, unshaven, wearing wrinkled clothes. His usual polished appearance was gone, but his smile remained the same, dripping with false warmth. Elisa, he said smoothly, and Delilah, I should have known you'd be here. Sit down, Corey, Elisa said coldly. He pulled up a chair, setting his briefcase on the table between us. I assume you consider my offer? You mean your threat? I couldn't keep the edge from my voice. Now, he chided. I prefer to think of it as mutual protection. I keep certain information private. You drop the charges. Simple. Elisa leaned forward. What information, Corey? What could you possibly have? Oh, come now. He opened his briefcase, pulling out a folder. Let's start with a Winston deal from 2019. Those signatures you backdated. I never backdated anything. Elisa snapped. Really? He slid a document across the table. Because I have proof suggesting otherwise. And that's just the beginning. I studied the paper, fighting back a smile. The signature was clearly forged, and not even well. These are fake, I said flatly. Prove it, he challenged, his smile widening. But while you're trying, the media will have a field day. The great Sanders family, caught in a web of fraud and corruption. Your reputation will be destroyed before you can prove anything. Like you destroyed our trust? Elisa's voice shook with real emotion. I treated you like family. Family? He laughed harshly. You treated me like a servant who got above his station. For 15 years, I watched you live in luxury while I did all the real work. So you decided to steal from us? I decided to take what I deserved. His composure cracked. Do you know how easy it was? He sneered. Setting up those shell companies, inflating those contracts? You never even looked closely at the numbers. Your precious family pride made you blind. I pressed a button on my phone, stopping the recording. Thank you, Corey, I said calmly. That was exactly what we needed. His face went pale as FBI agents emerged from their hiding spots. You set me up. No, Elisa said, standing as an agent moved to cuff him. You set yourself up. Every theft, every lie, every betrayal. Those were your choices. You'll regret this, he snarled. When the media hears, I interrupted. Your lies about Elisa? We've already proven the forgeries. Or maybe about your connections to organized crime. The FBI is very interested in those. His face went from pale to ashen. How did you? Like I said, Elisa's voice was steel. You betrayed family. Did you really think we wouldn't fight back? As the agents led him away, I heard him shout, "This isn't over." Actually, Detective Robert said, approaching us, it is. We found his laptop at a storage unit. Everything's there. Records of the theft, the forged documents, even emails to his criminal contacts. He's looking at serious time. Elisa sagged slightly, and I caught her arm. Let's get you home. The drive back to the mansion was quiet. Fletcher and Alex were waiting in the driveway along with Jasper. It's done, I told him as we got out of the car. We got his confession on tape. Alex hugged me tight. Then his mother, "Are you okay?" "No," Elisa admitted, "but I will be." She turned to Jasper. "What next?" "The FBI will handle the criminal case," he explained. "We need to focus on damage control and recovering the stolen funds." "I can help with that," I offered. "I know where to look now that we have access to his records." Elisa touched my arm. "You've done more than enough. This mess, I created it with my pride and my refusal to see what was right in front of me. It's time I fixed it myself." "We'll fix it together," Fletcher said firmly. "As a family." "Speaking of family," Alex said, taking my hand, "maybe now we can focus on happier things like a wedding." I looked at Elisa, waiting for her reaction. To my surprise, she smiled, a real warm smile that reached her eyes. "Yes," she said softly. "I think it's time we celebrated adding a new member to our family. If she'll still have us after all this drama." "Are you kidding?" I laughed. "After this, I know exactly what I'm getting into, and I wouldn't have it any other way." The morning sun broke through the clouds, casting long shadows across the driveway. Sometimes I realize the strongest families are forged in fire. And sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's proving yourself worthy of the very people who doubted you. The boardroom buzzed with tension as we prepared for the emergency shareholders meeting. 2 weeks had passed since Corey's arrest, and now came the hard part, facing the consequences. "Ready?" Alex squeezed my hand under the table. Before I could answer, the doors opened and people began filing in. I recognized most of them, major shareholders, board members, family, friends. Their expressions ranged from concern to openly hostile. Elisa stood at the head of the table, every inch the commanding presence she'd always been. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice." "As if we had a choice," someone muttered from the back. "The company's stock has dropped 15%, another voice called out. "We deserve answers." Elisa raised her hand for silence. "You'll get them, but first, I'd like to introduce someone." She gestured to me. "Delilah Jensen, my future daughter-in-law, who uncovered a fraud that threatened this company." All eyes turned to me. I stood, smoothing my skirt. What I found wasn't just fraud. It was a systematic attempt to hollow out this company from within. And where were the controls that should have prevented this? An older board member demanded. Where was the oversight? That responsibility was mine. Elisa said firmly, "I trusted the wrong person. But now, we're going to show you exactly how we're making it right." I clicked my laptop, and the presentation Serena and I had prepared filled the screen behind us. The FBI has already frozen most of the stolen assets. I explained. We've traced approximately 80% of funds. And the other 20%? Someone asked. That's why I'm here, a new voice said. Jasper walked in, carrying a stack of documents. We filed civil suits against all the shell companies involved. The recovery process is already underway. For the next hour, we laid out our recovery plan in detail. With each slide, each explanation, I could feel the mood in the room shifting, from anger to cautious optimism. But the real question, Elisa continued, is how we prevent this from ever happening again, which is why I'm proposing a new oversight committee. Murmurs filled the room as she outlined the structure: independent auditors, regular reviews, transparent reporting. And who will lead this committee? A shareholder asked. I will, I said, standing again, with the board's approval, of course. The room erupted in discussion. I caught fragments of conversations. But she's not even family yet. She found the fraud in the first place. A fresh perspective might be exactly what we need. Fletcher stood up. I moved to vote on the proposal. Seconded. Alex called out. The next few minutes were tense as the votes were counted. I felt Elisa's hand on my shoulder, surprising me with its warmth. The motion passes, Jasper announced. 78% in favor. Relief spread through the room. As people began to file out, many stopped to shake my hand or offer congratulations. Well done, Fletcher said, clapping me on the back. Both of you. Elisa was speaking with the last few board members when her assistant rushed in, looking pale. Ma'am, you need to see this. Corey's wife is on the news. We crowded around the tablet, watching the live broadcast. Margaret, Corey's wife of 20 years, was speaking through tears. The Sanders family destroyed my husband. Their greed, their manipulation. Turn it off, Elisa said sharply. No, I countered. We need to hear this. They're trying to pin everything on him, but the truth will come out. Alex swore under his breath. She's trying to spin it. Let her try, I said, already pulling out my phone. Jasper, release the evidence packets to the media. All of them. That's everything we have, he warned. Exactly. Total transparency. Let the public see the truth. Elisa nodded slowly. Do it. Within hours, the story had shifted. News channels were running segments showing the evidence trail, the forged documents, the offshore accounts. Margaret's accusations were buried under an avalanche of facts. I never thought I'd say this, Elisa admitted as we watched the coverage from her office, but I'm grateful you didn't listen to me when I tried to push you away. Funny how things work out, I replied, accepting the glass of whiskey she offered. You know, she said, settling into her chair, I always thought protecting this family meant keeping outsiders at bay. I never considered that sometimes protection comes from letting the right people in. A knock at the door interrupted us. Alex entered, grinning. Just got word from the FBI. They found the rest of the money. All of it. Really, Elisa brightened. And there's more. Corey's agreed to plead guilty. No trial. No more media circus. I raised my glass. To justice. To family, Elisa corrected, touching her glass to mine. And to the daughter-in-law who taught me what that really means. Looking at her then, I realized we both won something more valuable than any corporate victory. We found understanding, respect, and maybe even love. The sun was setting over Boston, casting long shadows through the office windows. And for the first time since this all began, I felt completely at peace. Something old, something new. My mother said, adjusting my veil in the bridal suite. Something borrowed, something blue. The old is Grandma's pearls. Serena counted off on her fingers. The new is the dress. The blue is the sapphire bracelet from Alex. And the borrowed? I asked, smoothing my dress. The door opened, and Elisa stepped in, holding a small velvet box. This, if you'll accept it. Inside was a delicate diamond hair clip that caught the light like captured stars. It was my mother's, she explained. She wore it at my wedding, and I wore it at mine. My throat tightened as she carefully pinned it into my hair. Through the mirror, I could see my mother watching, tears in her eyes. Perfect. Elisa said softly, "Now you truly look like a Sanders woman." A knock at the door interrupted the moment. Fletcher poked his head in. "They're ready for you. And there's something you should see first." We followed him to a window overlooking the church entrance. A small group of reporters had gathered, held back by security. "Is that?" I squinted at a familiar face. Margaret. Elisa confirmed grimly. "Corey's wife. Still trying to cause trouble, even today." I turned to face my future mother-in-law. "What do you want to do?" She straightened my veil, a determined glint in her eye. "We're going to walk out there, with our heads high. Let them see what real family loyalty looks like." The ceremony passed in a blur of emotions and promises. When Alex kissed me, the church erupted in applause. But the real test waited outside. As we emerged into the sunlight, Margaret stepped forward, a reporter at her side. "Mrs. Sanders," the reporter called out, "any comment on the allegations that your family—" Actually, I interrupted. "I have a comment." Alex squeezed my hand as I continued. "Today isn't about the past. It's about family, all kind of family. The ones we're born into and the ones we choose. But the accusations," Margaret started, "are over." Elisa cut in, stepping to my side. "Just like your husband's attempts to destroy what we built. Now, if you'll excuse us, we have a celebration to attend." At the reception, Fletcher clinked his glass for attention. "A toast to the newest member of our family, Delilah. When you first came into our lives, we thought we were gaining a daughter. Instead, we gained something far more valuable. A protector, a truth teller, and a reminder that real strength isn't about keeping people out, but letting the right ones in." "Hear, hear." The crowd cheered, raising their glasses. Later, during the father-daughter dance, my mom appeared at my shoulder. "May I cut in?" As we swayed to the music, she whispered, "Remember when you called me, terrified about meeting his family? Look at you now." I glanced across the room, where Elisa was showing my aunt photos on her phone, both of them laughing. "Things change," I murmured. "People change," my mother corrected, "when they're brave enough to let themselves." The evening wound down, and Alex and I prepared to leave for our honeymoon. But first, Elisa pulled me aside. "I have something for you," she said, handing me an envelope. Inside was a contract, making me a full partner in the family business, backdated to the day I exposed Corey's fraud. "I don't understand," I said. "The oversight committee position was just the beginning. You prove yourself not just capable, but essential. The board voted unanimously. Even you?" I couldn't help asking. She smiled, a warm, genuine smile that had become increasingly familiar. "Especially me. You taught me something valuable, Delilah. True power isn't about control. It's about trust." "Thank you," I whispered, hugging her impulsively. "No," she said firmly. "Thank you for saving our company, our family name." She paused. "And for showing me I could be wrong about someone in the best possible way." As Alex and I drove away, rice still falling from our clothes, I thought about power, pride, and the unexpected ways life teaches us lessons. I had come into this family wanting revenge against a woman who had judged me, but I had found something better: understanding, respect, and a place where I truly belonged. "Happy?" Alex asked, taking my hand. Through the rear-view mirror, I saw our families waving goodbye, my mother and Elisa standing side by side, Fletcher with his arm around them both, Serena throwing one last handful of rice. "More than happy," I replied. "I'm home." The city lights of Boston twinkled around us as we drove toward our future. And I realized that sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't revenge at all. It's proving that love, truth, and family are stronger than any prejudice or pride. And sometimes the greatest victory isn't in defeating your enemies. It's in turning them into family.